Hi, everybody. It's Rob Jolliffe. This is another Sabre Expert Series, and today what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about the difference between an upgrade and a reimplementation. So let's get into it. All right, ERP upgrades versus reimplementations. This is a sort of a question I get a lot. People talk to me about, I want to upgrade my ERP, and I have to ask them, do you mean an upgrade or an ERP reimplementation? And so I want to explain the difference between the two here in this video. So once again, I'm Rob Jolliffe. I am an expert in manufacturing and Microsoft Dynamics Business Central. And the assumption I'm making if you're watching this video is you're probably a manufacturing company. You're possibly using Business Central, but you're using an ERP system and you're in that small business market. You're under 250 computer users within your business, and you're thinking about, should I take my ERP system and buy a new one? Should I upgrade my ERP system, or should I just re-implement the same system I have today and fix the problems? If in watching this video, you're interested in having a quick call with me, want to just chat about what you see in this video or any of the other videos, don't hesitate to use the link that is in the description below to book a meeting with me in my calendar, and just leave a brief description of what it is you want to talk about. That'll give me time to get ready to have a good call with you to cover that topic and answer your questions. Okay. So the purpose of this is to answer the question about what are the differences between an ERP reimplementation and an ERP upgrade. These are two very common types of activities that are taken with older ERP systems, particularly and pre-cloud. In the cloud space, it's a little bit different than it is before the cloud. But if you have a pre-cloud ERP system and you're looking at, I want to upgrade it, or I want to move to the cloud, are you going to do an upgrade or are you going to do reimplementation? There are very substantial differences between those two. And in short, what we have is an upgrade is taking your data history, your processes, and any customizations and in a relatively unchanged way, moving those into the new version. A reimplementation retakes and uses the cleaned up master data that you might have. So you take the sort of the most important data out of your system, clean it up, and load it into the new system, but it allows you to now change your processes, not use the customizations you used, retrain everybody to use the ERP system out of the box as it's meant to be used, as opposed to with all kinds of customizations. The cost differences between these two, they depend on the level of customization of your ERP and basically to some extent the amount of process change you want to make, but they kind of come in, they're not that different actually at the end of the day. Like maybe the upgrade can be a little bit less expensive, but the reimplementation honestly doesn't come in that much more than an upgrade. So if we let's deep dive into upgrades just a little bit. The basic idea of an upgrade means you're keeping all your data. You're keeping all your history in your AR, your AP, your inventory ledger, your production ledger. All of those different ledgers that have financial data in them are going to be preserved, and all that financial history is going to be in your system. If you want to understand, by the way, why you can't do reimplementation with that financial history, I have another video on that subject, why you can't transfer your history into an ERP system. So the challenge with that is that whether that data is good or bad, it's brought in. You cannot, and this is a question I do get, you cannot purge bad data from your system while you're doing the upgrade and leave behind the bad and bring only the good. All of the data in your system creates a kind of history of every transaction, all the pluses and minuses, and they have to add up. And if you start taking some bad data out of the system, the pluses and minuses won't balance, and you won't be able to do that. The accountants can explain that to you, but essentially the trial balance needs to balance, and it won't if you don't include every single piece of information. The other thing about an upgrade is it generally means that your processes internally are going to remain unchanged. You are not going to be able to do an upgrade typically with all that data and tell your users, oh, we want to change the the processes, because the users now have all the data that they worked with in the old system. They have the customizations they worked with in the old system, and they're just going to fall back into the processes that they used in the before times before you did the upgrade. So if you're looking to do process improvement, you're looking to do a major change, this is not necessarily the right way to do it. Because the users see the old data, because the old information is there, they just inherently follow the old processes. So let's look at the re-implementation side of the coin now and dive into that a little bit. Re-implementation is going to lose your history. So all that history that you have in your chart of accounts and your item inventory transactions and your sales transactions and invoices, et cetera, that's all going to be wiped out by a re-implementation. You can migrate it into sort of a temporary holding pen. We'll talk about that in a minute. Your team is going to clean up and migrate selected data, and it's going to be the master data. It's not going to be all the transactional data. It's going to be your item masters, your bills of material, your location masters, your customers, your vendors. Those kinds of master data are going to be moved up into the new system. And you might keep, I mentioned I was going to bring this up, you might be able to take the history and put it into special archive tables, but they're not the main tables. So you're not going back to where, like, as new history is developed, that's going to go into the standard history tables. Your old history is going to be in these archive tables. But generally speaking, my experience is that within a year, this has washed itself out and nobody really cares anymore, because they can get the archive history and they put up with the nuisance of it for the first 12 months because it's much more convenient to work in a system that's being set up and configured correctly and the processes have been changed. Your customizations are not going to be copied into this new system. You're going to rethink that. You're going to decide, do I need a custom? Is there an add-on that's in the market that I can just pick and I can put in and it'll duplicate it? Or should I have been using the out-of-the-box system the whole time? And what I find with clients is quite often the customizations actually ended up being more of a problem than a benefit, because the system and the customizations were holding them back from using the system the way it was meant to be used. And they realize that as they get into it, but they didn't realize that when they first started. It is much easier to change and implement change management in this environment because the users are seeing something completely different and completely new, and their expectation is that it must be changing because all my data is gone, new system, I'm not familiar with it, it must require change, versus the other side of the coin, which I mentioned earlier. So just let's summarize some pluses and minuses. What are the benefits of an upgrade versus a reimplementation? So in an upgrade, you're keeping your history and data. You're not having to deal with as much change management, which could be a good thing. You're retaining your current processes, and it might be a little less money. Upgrades could be less expensive than reimplementation, certainly. A reimplementation, you're going to clean your data. You're going to start over. You're going to unlearn bad habits. You're going to change processes more easily because you have new data and a new system, and people are going to accept that. Therefore, I must change my processes. And sometimes it can be easier to use this new system without customizations. This is kind of where that dollar cost comes in. Sometimes the customizations themselves are actually costly in their own way, and the reimplementation ends up being a little bit cheaper. So, the upgrade, bad disadvantages of upgrade, you're going to copy the good data with the bad. You're going to keep customizations that could be redundant. Maybe the new system is actually capable of doing a feature that the customization was written to do, and you're not getting as good of a feature as the new system has. You're not going to be able to take advantage of those new features, basically, that are there also sometimes, because the customization itself is preventing the new feature from working correctly. And we've seen that in many cases. And it can be really, really hard to test because you're changing the version, you're going up to a different version, it looks different, and you're trying to bring all these customizations over, which aren't part of the standard system and are often undocumented. Most customizations that customers ask for never end up being identified as customizations in their standard operating procedures. They're just listed as a step that needs to be followed. When you go to try and figure out what's custom and what's not, you can't tell. And doing an upgrade actually can make that can be the biggest problem. The reimplementation, the disadvantage is you're going to lose your history. You're going to have more training and more process change because you are inherently not going to follow the same processes. And it might take a little longer and be a little bit more money at the end of the day. So summary, Reimplementation, fresh data, trying to use the out-of-the-box system, upgrade, keep your customizations in your data and try and use the same processes. Costs can be kind of similar. In certain circumstances, it can be cheaper to do one or the other, but generally the reimplementation is more expensive. And there are definitely pluses and minuses to each choice. So as always, check out the links in the description and look for other articles and videos that we've created around this subject and other videos that are kind of related to it. Please don't hesitate to subscribe to us and follow our YouTube channel. We are trying to create new YouTube videos at least weekly. Some of them will be like this. Some of them might be somewhat different, but please make sure that you follow the channel. And if you want to reach out to us and find us, we're on the web at www.sabrelimited.com. You can email sales@sabrelimited.com. I will receive that email, and you can reach me on LinkedIn at Rob Jolliffe. Thanks very much. Have a great day.